Hey y'all, I'm Emily Bowie. I'm a producer and engineer here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I'm so glad that you were able to join me today because we're going to take a little more in-depth look at all 3 plugins from Kit Plugins. And one of these plugins is totally free to download, so go ahead and do that. And while you're at it, don't forget to download those other 2 because you get a free trial. So let's test out these plugins together. I'll wait. Alright y'all, so you've downloaded the Kit plugins, so let's check them out. Let's see how they sound on a whole bunch of different tracks. The song that we're going to be mixing today is by Atlanta-based country artist Katie Shea. She's putting out some great work, so thank you Katie for letting us use your song Country Girl Like Me to demonstrate these Kit plugins. So what I'll do is play a little bit of the verse, a little bit of the chorus, just so we can get a feel of what the song is and how it sounds and kind of where the emotion's taking us. And then we'll get into each of these plugins a little bit more in depth.
Country girl like me, born under a rebel sky. Country girl like me, grew up corn silk high. Country girl like me, can throw it down all night long. Wake up, do it again, Lord knows I'm headstrong. But I can take Saturday night for a walk on the wild. I can do Sunday morning, Southern Baptist style. Pick any day of the week, I'll be running free. A country girl like me.
Alright, so now that we've had a little listen, let's get into some drums here. Now, as you can see, all of the drums are using the Kit plugins. And I wanted to test that out to see if I could just get those drums sounding the way that I need them to sound with just a couple of plugins. And that's my favorite. I am not trying to cake on a bunch of plugins. You start digging yourself a big old hole and there is just no way out of it. So let's take a look. Now, as you'll notice, I do have a sample for each of the kick and for the snare, and I was given a sample with each of those, and I just kind of wanted to, put my own little thumbprint on that, so I picked my own samples, and so I'm just blending those together and grouped right here for kicks and for the snares here. I'm only using 2 plugins, and as you can see, I'm only even using the compressor twice here. So we're getting a lot of our sound from the Blackbird N105 channel strip here. This is a fantastic plugin. I am so thrilled about this plugin. Like, if you've seen my other videos about this, game changer. I'm using this channel strip to create my sound, to hone in the sound that's already been given to us, and we're just making everything connect. And one of the biggest ways to do that is with sculpting your tone. So I've got my own samples here, so we have to make that work together with the recorded track that was given to us. And so that we've got all that grouped together here, I was able to accomplish that with the channel strip. So let's go ahead and just solo some of this stuff up. All right, so let's start everything out in bypass so you can just hear what the kick by itself sounds like. So first things first, let's go ahead and unbypass the Blackbird channel strip. So that's adding a lot of good weight back in. So the first thing I did was start out with the Blackbird kick out preset. And I'm guessing I tweaked it a little bit because of that asterisk. I think that's what that is. Let's see. Let me make sure. Okay, so yeah, we've got a couple of little things different here. From the original preset on the right, it starts out both in line and the saturation on. I have both of those off. Okay, here I decided to take out quite a bit at 470, and that started out at 270, also quite a bit. And I am boosting not as much at 56. And I am rolling off a little bit more. That may just be an off. So I'm rolling off a little, just those real low rumble, kind of just things that are just adding too much weight down there at the very end of our spectrum. But let's take a listen and kind of compare, what I tweaked it and then where we started, because it's not very much, but there might be a lot of difference down here in 56 hertz. So here is the original. All right, and what I tweaked it. So once I got probably the whole drum kit together, I felt like with just the preset, it was probably just a little bit too much on the low end there, too much at 56. So I just backed off that a little bit more and scooped out quite a bit more in the low mids. But I mean, they both sound pretty great. And I guess it's just a little bit clearer with the saturation off. And that is probably adding some more of that overall weight back in. So now let's bring in the core compressor. Really love this. It's just so simple, but also unique because you've got this body knob that really does add some good body back into, if that compressed sound. So let's see what that sounds like first in bypass. That's just really filling everything out, but not letting it fly away. It's just molding that whole overall kick sound with great punch. I absolutely love this plugin. And they work so well together. I mean, you could buy them individually, but using them together, there's just something really magic about that. So let's move on to the snare. Once again, once I found out about this preset in the Blackbird snare top, that was it for me. That's kind of what sent me over the edge with this particular plugin. So let's take a listen to just the snare. Bring in the Blackbird channel strip. First in bypass. And we'll bring that in. I mean, let's do that again. Bypassed. So much snap in that. I mean, just full body too. It's not just spanky, it's full. That's what a snare top should sound like. So that's awesome. And I guess just for comparison reasons, let's see what the original preset was for the Blackbird snare top. Okay. So instead of so again, okay, up here, I have taken it off of line. I did a mic. I guess I just like the sound of that a little bit better. And I took the saturation off. Right here is the same. We've got, so I have pulled this back, I guess just to not sound, too sparkly up there, and wanted to bring that back at 3.3, but probably, yeah, about the same. Maybe boosting just a tad bit more. And I am cutting at 560. This was back up at 820. So that's a little bit of a difference, but it's probably just this snare sample that I was using with that. It may have already, had something cut out in that area. And then we are boosting quite a bit at 180. That's to give it that full sound. I like that full sound. I don't like that real spanky CLA snare sound. But yeah, and we are cutting just a little bit higher, 82. And this was off. So same concept, but I mean, starting there at that snare top preset, don't be scared of presets because, go through them, see what works. But what I'm finding out is the presets that go along with the Blackbird channel strip are pretty good. And I mean, I wouldn't imagine them wanting to put their name on something that they didn't really, believe in and knew that was going to be beneficial to you and I. But let's get the core compressor back up here. And I just want to mention really quick, I know you've noticed the UAD 1176A up here. And I have that because we are going to demonstrate, because that's what I would usually put on the snare, right? Usually. So instead, today I am using the Kit core compressor, and we're going to take a look at what that sounds like. First in bypass. Back out. I mean, it sounds better. I think this body knob is just fantastic. Just adding just more to the good stuff, right? Simple. Don't complicate things. As far as the settings go, I've got, between this medium and slow attack, I still want it to come through and just, compress on that mid stride, I guess. That, that sound that we like, that fullness, and then a fast release. So we're just kind of like holding it there. That's the part that we want. That's the part that sounds good. We just want more of what's good, right? And what was it? 4 to 5 dBs of compression here. Let's see. Okay, so, maybe it goes over a little bit than 5. That's okay. There's no rules, right? This whole only have 3 dBs worth of compression. Come on now. So now let's go back and forth. Let's go back and forth between the 1176 and the core compressor. So this is, what I had. Let's see, we'll put this right here. Just so you know, we're 100% in there. So we're not really paralleling that. All right, so let's go through. Let's first listen to the core compressor. All right, so now let's see how that compares, how that holds up to the 1176. First in bypass. So you're it's getting a little spanky, right? And we're still at, between the medium and slow attack and fast release. So, I mean, obviously we can't really control the threshold as much, but let's see what we're getting here. So it's about the same, right? We're going, but in between 5 and 10. We're right around here, 7. So the settings are kind of the same. I think that the output was probably a little bit less, so let's try it a little turned up. So what I'm getting with this comparison is that the 1176 is actually bringing up something that I don't want brought up. There's some little ringing in there that I'm not liking, and I'm wondering if this body knob is just adding something that makes it sound fuller and not, so washy. But I thought that this comparison was really neat, and I wanted to show y'all because I am more of a fan of this sound than this sound. And it's very hard to find something because I love what the 1176 does. And I absolutely love it on vocals, right? But there's just something that I'm always searching for with that snare sound. And I have found it with this combination right here. With the Blackbird N105, the Studio A emulation Neve console, and the core compressor here. These work fantastic together. So what I think we'll do next is just listen to the overall drums. I'm going to bring back in my parallels because, if you have watched any of my videos, you know that parallel processing is the key. So what I've got here are 3 different toms. Pretty standard stuff. And what did I do? I used the kit plugin, the Country Rack Tom preset. And look, I didn't tweak it. I did the same thing for the other rack. And then I did the same thing here. Except, I went with classic rock for the floor tom, So this sounded appropriate. Really fills things out. I'm telling you, get you where you want to go. The next thing I want to take a look at here is the bass. So here's our bass track, and we are just doing a couple little things here. Actually, one thing. Just rolling off up to around 40 there. Just clear things up, and then I have that actually down here at a group track. And I just always set up a group for bass because it's not uncommon to have a DI and an amp, and then I'll just have something to send both of those to. So on the bass, what I've got is, okay, so another EQ here. We're just poking up a little bit there and an extra high pass. But I've also got the N105 channel strip on there because it's great. So what we did here was pull up a lot of that string sound because that's what I want to distort with the barrier. Now, this plugin is just a gift from Kit Plugins. It's free, so you might as well download that. So we're pulling up the sound that we want to distort and just adding a little bit more of that thump. But the star of the show is this gal. Now I am rolling up so that we cut out some of that low. This is actually in parallel, so the mix is a little more than halfway. I unlinked this because I wanted to get a little bit more output back in, but if you had it linked, then the more you increase this knob, the less the output is. So it kind of pulls that back for you. And let's not forget our core compressor. So this is one that we've got all 3 working together. So let's go ahead and bypass those and just bring them in one by one. So you can hear the 820 coming through pretty good. So now let's bring in this. Let's bring in some of that sound that we're looking for. Let's bury it. All right, so let's bring in our core compressor. Let's kind of tame it a little bit, fill it out. Sounds pretty good, huh? All right, let's take it all out and bring it all right back in so you can get a good, comparison on what these things are doing. This is the line right here. Doesn't get much better than that. That's how all three of these can work together, and they work together fantastically. It didn't over crunch anything, it didn't over distort anything. It just blended so nicely with that mix knob. And then the core compressor, again, just these are simple things. And what I love about plugins, especially, the ones that allow it to be more simple for you, there's not a whole bunch that you can mess up with it. You're just more likely to get the results that you're aiming for, the ones that you hear in your head, the ones that you know sound good and that will work overall in your mix every time. Now, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is vocals and incorporating the Kit plugin, the Blackbird N105, into my vocal processing chain. If you have watched any of my videos, you know how I feel about vocal processing and how I like to do that, because once I found out about this, there was no going back, because it works, I believe, flawlessly every time. Just different variations of this technique, but I wanted to test out the Blackbird, the N105, the channel strip, to see if I could also use that in this mixing technique. So what I've done is I have put it in place of the UAD 1073, and we are going to compare the sounds. Now, two totally different consoles, right? Two totally different channel strips. So yes, there's going to be some tonal things that are different. But why wouldn't you want, two different colors for this same technique? Because the technique is still there. You're still able to accomplish, what we're doing here. But this way, I have now two different colors to choose from. So let me get in and explain to you what I'm talking about. What I use this for is the saturation. We want some more grit back in there, because when you add that grittiness and that saturation, a little bit of distortion, and you blend that back into something, it fills it out, makes it fuller, thicker, it just doesn't make it sound so thin. And a lot of times that's what happens when we record vocals. And, instead of, learning those techniques and what to do and to fix that problem, a lot of times people will just duplicate the actual audio track, the actual vocal. And I don't want it louder. I just need to fill it up. I need to fill up those dynamics. So that's how I do with this track here, which is adding back into some of that grit and that buzz. So I've got it up around 40, and I'm pulling the fader back down around 30, because if I didn't, then it would just sound like garbage. But adding a little bit in there makes it sound better. So I've done the same thing over here, and I had to go a little bit higher on this one, just so I could get that grit back in. Saturation's on, and we are in mic mode. Fader is pulled back down. None of the EQ is actually engaged. It's all off. There's nothing being processed on that. So let's compare what these sound like.
I can take Saturday night for a walk on the wild. I can do Sunday morning, Southern Baptist style. Pick any day of the week, I'll be running free. Oh, a country girl like me. can take Saturday night for a walk on the wild. I can do Sunday morning, Southern Baptist style. Pick any day of the week, I'll be running free. Oh, oh, a country girl like me. Yeah.
Wow. So I don't know. I think maybe the Blackbird sounds a little better. But let's see what it sounds like with the rest of everything. See if we can hear a difference in that. Because that's where we need to kind of test these things out. So let's bypass both of them and play all the tracks.
I can take Saturday night for a walk on the wild. I can do Sunday morning, Southern Baptist style. Pick any day of the week, I'll be running free. Oh, oh, a country girl like me.
Let's get back into a verse where her vocal's kind of the dominant thing here, and listen and compare there.
Country girl like me, born under a rebel sky. Country girl like me, grew up corn silk high. Country girl like me, can throw it down all night long. Wake up, do it again, Lord knows I'm headstrong. But what you get is what you see with a country girl like me. Yeah. Country girl like me can find the map but don't get stuck. Country girl like me got a truck, it's all jacked up. Country girl like me gonna race for 100 hell. If I have a bad day, pour a drink and say, oh well. 'Cause what you get is what you see with a country girl like me. I can take Saturday night for a walk on the wild. I can do Sunday morning, Southern Baptist style.
So, there's different tones with it, but it's still accomplishing that. It's still bringing that vocal a little bit forward and filling it out. And so I'm just super excited that I can do that technique with this plugin as well. I also have the core compressor on the banjo and the fiddle here. And I just really like what it's doing because I didn't need something too aggressive. I didn't need or I mean, this can obviously be aggressive because of the crush here, but I just didn't need anything, and I'm not even adding any body back into these, right? So we've got a medium attack and just something in between medium and fast on the release, and basically these are the same thing. So that's why I wanted to show you this together. So there's a little instrumental section here that we'll play. On the right is the fiddle, and on the left is the banjo here. And now unbypassed. So we're getting a little bit more gain reduction on that fiddle. It was pretty, it's pretty dominant, but I think it just tucks everything in so nicely. So let's go on and off with the core compressor here. just think that it just tightens everything up in that banjo especially, and just really controls the fiddle. And we're not doing like too much, but medium attacks. I want it to come through and not, heavily attack that and grab it. And I want those nice sounds to come through. And I don't know, it's just so nice and refreshing to have something like this in your plugin bag. So I'm super excited about what Kit Plugins are putting out. The 3 that they have out right now are fantastic. I'm glad that you got to go over them with me. I hope that you did go ahead and download those, at least the free trials. And don't forget to pick up the barrier. I mean, that's just a gift. These plugins by Kit Plugin are fantastic. I can definitely see myself using them on every single mix. There's something that I'm going to find beneficial from them, and it's going to make my mixes sound better. And I just honestly can't wait to see more products that they put out. So thank y'all so much for watching. A special thank you to Kit Plugins, and thank you to Katie Shea and her crew for letting us use her song Country Girl Like Me. Go check that out on all your streaming platforms. Her album, Sorry Ain't Working, is fantastic, so don't forget to check her out. Again, thank y'all so much for watching, and we'll talk soon.